Good afternoon, DA Doorley. How are you today?
I'm fine. Good afternoon. Good to see you.
So, thank you. You too. So, it is Gun Violence Awareness Month, as you know. Um, and I thought it would be great if I'll just have a conversation about what gun violence awareness means. So, DA Doorley, I'll turn it over to you if you have, some opening remarks that you want to get us started with.
No, thank you for this opportunity. This is, a very important topic and a very timely topic for our community. Just last night we had additional shootings in the city of Rochester, and it's been a horrible time in 2020. We really need to start talking about gun violence, taking illegal guns off the street, and returning a sense of community and safety to the community of Rochester.
Yes, thank you. It's definitely been a rough few months. I know COVID hit, and that definitely sort of deterred everything with all of the partners. The ability to hold court, I know, is a big one for the DA's office, and the sheriffs and probation and police department were all impacted. They were limited in what they could do. So we didn't see any decreases in shootings necessarily. So does that flood your office now with a lot of case backlog for firearms offenses?
It does. Even though the courts may have been closed because of COVID, police officers were still out there. They were still answering calls for service. They were still making proactive arrests. And during this time, if you look at the period from January through May, we have taken off more illegal guns off the street than we ever have before. And those cases are now pending in our office, and we are at a standstill. We're waiting for the courts to open so we can begin to dispose of the cases and work through them. So, it's going to be challenging, to say the least, to make sure that everyone gets swift justice, but that's our goal, and we're hoping that come July that the courts are open, and we have a fully robust grand jury, and we're able to handle all of these cases.
So I'm curious, from your perspective as the DA and working in court, what impact do you see that gun violence has on the community?
We see it in so many aspects. We see it, obviously, we can start with just those that are arrested for the possession of illegal firearms, those people that are carrying an illegal weapon. We see that turns into, or it has the potential to turn into, violence in and of itself. We see illegal weapons causing assaults, causing homicides. We see illegal weapons involved in domestic violence situations. And we even see it extending to the area where child abuse is encompassed. So it really is pervasive in the community, and it's something that we really need to address. If I can go on, that's why, we have our gun crimes part, where all of our, serious possession cases are going to go before one, now two judges, so that they're all handled equally across the board, which is something that, I think is a good step, something that we've been doing for the last couple of years.
Sure. Thank you.
As far as, like you said, the courts are going to be backlogged. How are they planning on managing, I guess, people who had adjournments and, making sure people don't, I guess sometimes there's issues with bench warrants and things like that. So for the people who had things scheduled, how, is there a plan in place? Because I know with COVID, a lot of things were kind of done on the fly, because this is something that nobody's ever dealt with before. So is there going to be anything in place to ensure that people aren't incurring some type of undue penalties, for maybe missing court where they had a date scheduled before to maybe accommodate their job or, something like that?
Yeah, I don't believe that bench warrants will or have been given out during this period where the courts have been closed down.
Okay.
And it looks like as the courts get back up onto a schedule, they're dealing with the older cases first, so that they can get people into court and get their cases handled as soon as possible. Yeah. You know what, I really can't see any court giving a bench warrant during this time. And most of the cases, starting with, we call it May 16th, the day the court stopped, March 16th. Anything after that had been adjourned by the judge.
Okay.
So even if, someone had a court date in early April, that had been adjourned by the court, and they will be notified of their new court dates.
Okay. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. I think everyone, this is a new normal, and this is a new way that, all of us are just trying to work through the system. So we're going to be very accommodating and making sure that we can get people in and have their cases handled.
Yeah, I think that's the general assumption.
Yeah.
There's always the, fear of, making sure that you get to where you need to be and it gets scheduled and you get notified. Maybe somebody had moved. So that's why I posed that question.
Yeah, I think that every accommodation will be extended. And I also know that, because of the size of the courtrooms, the court calendars are going to be reduced. So there's really going to be a lot of, there needs to be a lot of communication between, court counsel and defendants to make sure that they get to the right place at the right time. And
Right.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of accommodations given.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I've been thinking through is what we can sort of tell the community, or how we can, the right word, empower the community to have a stake in reducing violence, how the community can help us to work on these efforts. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I do. And that's one of the things that I think all of us in law enforcement are missing during this time, because we're not able to be out there with the community, at events like, TIPS, where we would actually go into neighborhoods, have picnics and talk to people. We're missing those opportunities. And as DAs, we use that opportunity, to talk to individuals in neighborhoods who may be victims of a crime or may be witnesses to a crime, and tell them that, it is safe to come forward. We can help them through the system. And the more that we are able to, take the violent offenders off the streets, the safer you're going to be. So we're missing that opportunity to get out to the community, and I think that's frustrating.
Indeed. I know, especially with Antonia's position being the community engagement specialist for GIVE, that was a big piece that we were both looking forward to, is being able to get out into the community. So I think we're all trying to adjust for sure.
Exactly. And you know what? I mean, this may sound cliche, and it's not anecdotal. We've had people come here and they've said, you know what, we will cooperate. We'll testify in grand jury. We'll testify at trial because, we were out at that picnic at Jones Park. And you know what, law enforcement isn't that big bad brother out there. Mm-hmm. We realize that you are there to help us and protect us, because we want a safe community, a safe neighborhood too. So we're going to do our part to make that happen. We hear that all the time. So to not have access to the community, it's kind of frustrating. But I'm hoping as time goes on that we're going to be able to, put our heads together and think about alternative ways to do it. Mm-hmm. Because, the more we open up the community, we can now gather in up to 25 people, even though we're social distancing with masks. Right. I mean, it may be a good time to get out there and tell the community that we care, because a lot of people, I'm sure right now, they're in their neighborhoods. These are places where they live, where they raise their children, where they want to be safe and secure, and they know that there's gun violence cropping up all over. It's been very hot these past couple of weeks, and we need to get out there and tell them that we care about them and we're there to provide safety.
And that was one of the conversations I had with Kayla, hoping we could salvage one of our TIPS events, possibly one or two, to, be able to have that, that community impact that we strive for, to build relationships with, law enforcement as a whole and the community. So we can, on like the level of the DA's office, get more cooperation to get crime solved and get witnesses in and different things that you guys are responsible for.
Yeah. I think, think outside the box. Yes. The administrative judges are telling us to do that in the reopening of courts. So I would say the same thing to you. We need to think outside the box. even if it's,
Definitely.
one-way paths, in parks.
Yep.
Everyone, just walk one way.
Paint
So
orange arrows and
Exactly.
Yep.
We could put orange tape on the grass. It'll be okay.
go to the Dollar Tree and we can definitely
Yep.
buy a few rolls.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you know what? The most, I love tips events because I love to interact with the young kids.
Mhm.
I want to say we don't bribe them, but we have coloring books and sometimes ice cream and lollipops and other things. We've done the little soft balls
Yep.
and anything to get people to come over and talk to us so that they know that we are a resource. We are there to help them. We're not
Mhm.
obstructionists. We don't want to put everyone in jail. I mean, that's a misconception about prosecutors. We really want to help people and make the community safe.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the goal. That's our goal.
It's all about humanizing the faces
Exactly.
behind law enforcement. Yeah.
And one of the things I think is nice is when you can get officers to either engage in some athletic activity with the community, and they start realizing this isn't, especially now, with all of the pollution and everything that's going on, just to get them to understand that oh, he's a Bills fan, but boo Bills, but or whether it's something like sports where every guy can find some commonality and find out, oh, you got a 5-year-old like I have, and just there really isn't much difference between us two besides our skin color, then that helps in understanding, okay, he's doing his job, let me do my part as a community member in doing my job to make sure that we can keep the streets safe, or if I see something I can say something, because I think a lot of times the problem is people don't want to say anything until their family member gets hurt or something happens in their neighborhood, and then it's like, can you help me find out what happened to my family member? But then like I said, there's not the cooperation piece that is so vital. So
Right. And like you said, you know what, we are so much more alike than we are different.
Mhm.
So that's what we have to focus on now. I don't play basketball, but or football, but I would love to be out doing something in the community. That's why I'm hoping that we can move forward in the coming months.
well, do you wear shoes? Because a lot of women have person shopping is a common denominator.
There you go.
That may sound
I
feminist or whatever, but
I
I like
that.
to shop, so
Yeah.
I could lead that.
I'm sure women of all races can agree on that, and we're happy when stores like Marshall's and Burlington open. So
Yes.
Exactly.
that'll be a good groundbreaker.
Shoes and purses.
Yeah. So, we can find a common ground there and build on that. So
Exactly. Yeah, but I just think there's so much more that we can do, and I really look forward to working, with you and the partners and getting back out on the streets and getting back to our new normal, and getting back to the community, because I think right now, especially right now, the community needs the assurances that we have their back, and that needs to be the message out there.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes. I don't think I have any other questions or thoughts at this point. I don't know if either of you think I've missed anything or have anything else that you want to touch on before we close this out.
I think this was a good discussion, and Sandra answered some really good questions. I think we all had a good dialogue overall.
The message is just to make people aware that they are going to have choices to be made, and they need to make the right choices for the safety of all of the community.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.